Here's what the Pitt TV show isn't showing you. Welcome back to a series I'm starting where I review famous trauma scenes in movies and TV shows and give you my honest feedback as to what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. In the first part of the series, I reviewed a scene from Black Hawk Down. Today we're reviewing Season 2, Episode 12 of The Pitt. A patient comes in after sustaining a blast injury from a fireworks explosion while working in a garage. The scene does a decent job demonstrating the primary survey, but I have several critiques. First off, it's worth noting that blast injuries have a very unique pattern. There's three primary types of destructive energy that can cause trauma during a blast. The first is the heat itself generated from the explosion, which can cause flash burns. The second is the overpressure injury, which is a large pressure wave emanating from the source that can cause injury to hollow organs like the lungs and the bowel. And the third is direct trauma from being thrown or objects hitting you. Because of this, patients may initially appear less injured than they actually are internally. So we have to have a high index of suspicion with these patients. Now, I'll give the show credit. Noah Wiley's character does mention that we need to be worried about overpressure injury, but my biggest complaint with this scene is how they perform the primary survey. They get through airway and breathing pretty quickly, but then they get distracted by this scalp laceration. They completely neglect circulation, disability, and exposure. They don't check the patient's pulses. They don't check his neurostatus, which if you have a head laceration, you're definitely going to want to know what your GCS is and if the patient's moving all of their extremities and following your commands. And they don't do exposure, taking all those clothes off of him. In fact, with a blast, you might want to decontaminate him before he even gets there so that none of the healthcare workers are exposed to that. And it's worth mentioning, you can bleed quite a lot from scalp lacerations. It's very well vascularized, and it's not something to be taken lightly. However, there are more pressing issues that they needed to address prior to focusing on that. The scene does do a good job of showing the utility of EFAST, or the quick ultrasound examination we can do right there in the trauma bay to look for bleeding. A fast exam would be very good at picking up pneumothorax. It would be less sensitive to pick up any injuries to the bowel. Really, the fast exam is good at finding bleeding in the belly. It's not good at finding injuries to the hollow viscous organs like the stomach, the small bowel, and the colon. And those are the type of injuries we would see with an overpressure blast injury. Now, I know it's a TV show. They're not going to get everything right. But hopefully this taught you a little something about how we actually do things in the trauma bay.